When did you decide to become a quarterback?
5 or 6 years old. I just like the position, you know, because you're the boss and you're the quarterback. It's a very hard sport to conquer, especially quarterback, the position. It's, you know, you can never be perfect at quarterback, and it just...
You must have been watching your dad's career then, right?
Yeah.
A father leading his son down a path he's already taken. A quarterback who led everyone to the fast lane. And a middle linebacker leading his team to a division title. Leaders past, present, and future today on Presents.
Hold on to your seats for this play, folks.
What kind of a call is that? This is when the big dogs come out.
This one scores on.
NFL Films Presents is brought to you by Edge Pro.
For the past 2 years, Chris Sims, playing for the Ramapo Raiders of North Jersey, has been the nation's #1 ranked high school quarterback. Although he bears an uncanny resemblance to his famous dad, there are differences in their backgrounds. One of 8 kids from a working-class family in Louisville, Phil Sims's early career was a struggle to survive. It was a painful study in perseverance to prove himself to demanding fans and a tough, loving father.
How would you compare your relationship with Chris as opposed to your father's relationship with you?
He watched it from a distance, you know, and every once in a while when he gave a hint of criticism or instruction, it was like once a year, you know, that's all it was. And I'm not like that with my sons. I'm very open with them. We talk a lot about it, and I like to instruct. I like to get out there with them and have fun and do the skills and play the games, and I think that's the difference.
You had a lot of jobs then growing up as a kid, right?
Yeah.
You were a house painter. Would you work on a road crew?
I did asphalt. Yeah, I worked at assembly line, Ford Motor Company. You got a good memory. And then the worst of all was delivering papers. I don't try to tell them those stories. You know, they don't want to hear that I had to walk 5 miles to school. You know, like we heard from our parents. I don't care. I don't tell them those things.
As his father, I guess you wouldn't want him to have to face that.
Oh,
but actually,
no.
But that's one of the things that made you what you are, is the adversity and the obstacles that you had to overcome.
You know, he's faced plenty of them already. He's had to endure the name and what that brings being around here. And
Now, what's that like, Chris?
Yeah.
I mean, did they ever say, you're Phil Sims?
Yeah, they all think there's like a special potion he gives me at night. And, I'm supposed to go out and be Mr. All-State quarterback. But, yeah, I think the expectations are higher. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what they think. It's all about what, you know, what I do and what I think.
There are no secrets. You know, everybody can say, oh, well, you know, he's got the advantage. You know, I can't make him work. I can't make him, you know, really love the game. I can't do that. That comes from within.
A few days ago, we were out there, and I was throwing it horrible, and I was really getting, you know, just mad. And he was, stop being a baby, just shut up and go out there and throw it. And
there's no question. The one thing I always try to tell young athletes, period, it's your head. You know, don't let what you think in your head be a detriment what your body can do. You know, I think that's the big thing, not to worry so much about outcomes. I try to teach him that a lot about playing sports. Just play, you know, practice and play, and then worry about certain things when it's over. You know, not to emotionally get too involved when it's going on. You know, I didn't do a great job of that. See, I'm trying to teach and learn from my mistakes. So, you know, and that's what we do, I think. My last couple years of playing, I was taught by Jim Foster all of these mechanics and a lot of things that I never knew about.
yeah, you never hold 2 hands on the ball until Foster got
late in
there.
my career. You know, I was always back there like this.
He would drop back, and he'd be like this. And then he'd get hit.
What
and
should he be
fumble
like?
Well, what should he be like? Yeah, both hands on the
Yeah, I mean, drop back like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he teaches me that now.
Did Chris ever start to develop any bad habit that you saw Phil right away and you picked up? I mean, maybe like tapping the ball before he throws it or
Yeah,
something
no,
like
I
that?
encourage that. You know, that's the thing I've learned through years of listening to guys that really know what they're talking about. Like Bill Walsh. He says, you know, you need a rhythm, Pat, to throw the football. And you watch in the NFL, nobody throws the ball without giving it a little touch of the hand.
But you hear a lot of people say that, you know, that's bad. You shouldn't be touching the ball before you throw it. But that's,
yeah, those are people who don't know what they're talking about.
I see.
So, you know, that's,
how do you compare Chris at his age to you when you were his age?
I can't compare. You know, there's such a difference. Of course, he is much farther along than I was. I mean, physically, mentally, there's no comparison. But all kids are nowadays.
Yeah. I'd kick his butt. He's in high school with me right
You'd
now.
kick his butt?
Yeah. He's a little skinny wimp. I've seen pictures of him.
You know, that was a sad day in life. I don't know how everybody, when you're playing ball with your son, and one day we're out there, and I had to work pretty hard and still beat him, and then all of a sudden one day you go, wow, I can't win anymore. So I don't think I've won a one-on-one basketball game in quite a while, but I still try. I beat him up a little. We have a little fun doing it.
He should be still good under the board.
Yeah, that's all he does. Puts his big butt on me, backs me in.
That doesn't even work. But it's fun, you know, and let me tell you, that is the greatest thing about all of it. Playing, staying young, competing with the young kids, still communicating, all that. That's the best thing about all of it.
But your father wasn't that way with you, though, was he? I mean, he wasn't just, we were talking about, he wasn't that positive.
He wasn't as open.
Yeah.
So I think I learned from that. You know, I used to say, I'd see my dad. Don't we all do that growing up? My dad would do something, and I'd say, I'm not going to do that when I get his age. I'm not. You know, sometimes I needed some positive reinforcement every once in a while, and maybe I didn't get it. No, when my dad grew up, no, he was working, trying to feed us and things like that. So I have a great advantage. I have time to spend with him.
But in 1986, during the memorable drive to the Super Bowl, Phil Sims's father was watching.
It'd make me cry if I really thought about it and talked about it. We played the 49ers in 1986, and again,
49-3 game?
the 49-3, and you know, it sounded like an easy game, but I really took some big hits and threw some touchdown passes, and it was over. I called him, and he goes, son, he goes, I'm going to tell you what, they can't deny it no more. You are tough, you are a competitor, and you are some player. No, no, no. And I was like, wow. After he finished saying, I hung up the phone, I go, boy, I really must have played well. Or I did something that really made him proud, the fact that I was the type of athlete I think he was hoping I would be.
3 weeks later, Phil Simms became a champion. Chris Simms was there to share the glory, as he was for many defining moments in his father's career.
It took 15 years of hard work to earn your respect, and it was well worth the effort. I will always remember the Giant fans.
That had to be an emotional evening for the whole family.
Well, Dallas killed the Giants, and they beat them 35-0.
Well, that made him happy. That's such a damn Cowboys fan.
But, yeah, it was fun. I can still remember giving him the ball when he's going to throw the pass to LT. And Lawrence going up to him and going, don't throw it hard.
Here we go. Straight down the field. Real easy. Yeah. Hey.
Phil, what has Chris done so far that's made you the most proud?
The fact that he's played well, and the fact that his name gives him a little more notoriety, those things, he's handled that well, and that makes me proud. And I think the biggest thing is that, you know, he works hard at it, too. He tries. He's willing to work and listen to people, and that's the most important thing of all.
Those same words also describe Phil Simms, the player and the parent.
Tomorrow on ESPN.
Too short, you know, at 5'11", about 230 pounds, they felt like, you know, he's not quite big enough. When I hit the football field, I'm giving everything I have. And you can't tell me I'm not big enough.
For 12 seasons, Jesse Tuggle has toiled at middle linebacker for the Atlanta Falcons with little recognition from the public. But among his peers, he's forged a fierce reputation with a nickname to match.
He's the hardest hitter in the league. I know there are a lot of guys that get a lot of hard hits, but not as often as Jesse. I mean, he's always knocking somebody out. Ooh, baby, get him out of here.
I go to bed and I ain't gonna thank God for Jesse on my team. I sure would not want to play against him.
We got a little running joke here. You better watch out, because Ham will hit somebody, even if it's you. He will hit somebody, though, and he will put the funk on you.
I'm telling you, man, gonna lay the wood to him every time.
Over the years, the Hammer has nailed enough opponents to claim the title of the NFL's leading active tackler, a designation he has enjoyed earning.
It's something that you can't ever feel but on the football field is to run full speed and make contact. You can't do it anywhere else in this world, really, without getting arrested.
Despite playing football's most punishing position, Tuggle has missed only one game in his career. A remarkable feat for a player who went undrafted out of Division II Valdosta State.
My rookie year in '87, we had 17 linebackers in camp, and I was number 17. And they had 3 or 4 draft picks in front of me. So I'm thinking to myself, this is really going to be a long shot.
Tuggle's nose for the football helped him secure a roster spot.
Jesse Tuggle picked it up and took it in.
And his penchant for coming out of the pile with the pigskin has earned him a place in the record book.
But still loose at the 31-yard line, and it's picked up by Jesse Tuggle. He could go. Kiss him bye-bye, baby. Tuggle scores a touchdown.
In the history of the NFL, no player has returned more opponents' fumbles for touchdowns than Jesse Tuggle.
Who would have thought, man, a small guy from a small school would have an NFL record? It's unbelievable when you ask me. It's a small stat. I mean, when you pick up a record book, you don't look for that, but it's there and a part of history.
Tuggle's success has led teammates to imitate him, literally.
He always breathes deep because he's a kind of thick guy. He's like, let's go, Chucky. Hey, Chucky! Chucky! It's going to be a fantastic day today. Hey, Chuck, right from the beginning, we're going to set the tempo. Woo! Woo! Hey, when the hammer comes to play.
Unfortunately, few of Tuggle's teammates have been able to imitate his longevity. Number 58 currently charges into battle as the team's only long-standing veteran.
When I look back and I look at some of my old team pictures, that's when it really hits me. Like, oh my God, man, you know, I'm the only person left on that whole team picture. I've seen so many players come in, but also so many players to leave.
Tuggle's time in Atlanta has been bittersweet. In a dozen seasons, he's lost almost twice as many games as he's won. He's had 5 head coaches. He's sacrificed his body before empty stands, but never played with an empty heart. A trait that has endeared him to his current coach.
When I came here, you could just tell that Jesse was a leader.
I want to present this ball right here to Dan Reeves for the first win with the Atlanta Falcons.
I think the one thing that all leaders have in common is that they'll never ask you to do something that they aren't willing to do themselves.
Hey, Ron, I'll tell you something, man. We're right here fighting our ass off. You gotta do the same, man. A leader is a guy who goes out there and he leads by example. Anybody can talk a good talk. But when you go out there and do it every day, and you do it whether you're winning, whether you're losing, and you chasing the ball down, and you're 33 years old, you're doing it and you're doing it over and over again, I think for a young player, you know, that's really showing that it means something to this guy.
It's picked up, and Tuggle is gonna score.
Tuggle has achieved the ultimate reward of a leader, the respect of those he leads.
If I had a brother, I would want Jesse to be my brother. Everyone looks up to Jesse. I was a 7th-round draft pick, and I came in here and said, well, Jesse Tuggle, a star of this team. He was a free agent. That could be me one day if I go out there and work as hard as he did.
If he had been in a winning organization early in his career, he'd be going to Hall of Fame by now. There aren't many players like Jesse, and he's even having his best year ever this year.
1998 has been a magical ride for the Falcons.
I've been waiting for this for so long, man. I've been waiting for this moment, baby.
And no one has savored it more than the team's most seasoned veteran.
He's like a young player now. I mean, he's having a lot of fun.
Tuggle's season of rebirth was capped by a selection to the Pro Bowl and a long-awaited division championship.
You know, I had to fight just to be a part of the NFL. And not only that, I've been fighting each and every year, you know, trying to build this football team to make this Atlanta Falcons a team that people respect. And it's been an uphill fight, you know, for 12 years. And right now, I'm just proud to be an Atlanta Falcon. And it took a long time to say that.
It's been a long time coming. Long time coming. We finally did it. 13-2. NFC champ.
When people look at most professional football players, they think they're just guys who just blessed with all this ability and all this talent. It was always like that for them, but not for me. I was a skinny kid. I wasn't very tall, but once I got a taste of football, I loved it to death.
Woo! You gotta love this. You gotta love it.
Anything can happen for you. Just be ready and never give up. And believe me, dreams do come true. That's the truth.
7-7. Holly Curtin.
The greatest leader that I've ever been around.
He used to tell a lot of jokes in the huddle and then just call the play on the line of scrimmage.
He had that intensity about him that you could feel.
Threw the best balls when he was half looped.
Somebody missed a block, you'd shoo him out. And after the game, you go out and buy him a beer.
He had a record player. When you heard Frank Sinatra, he was going downtown Detroit City.
I've seen him smoke cigarettes in the huddle. He would match up with a dragon if he had to.
Yellow-haired guy with a wonderful smile and eyes that just twinkled. You had to like him.
Nobody went over to talk to him. I immediately went over and told him how much I hated him.
I said, you must have had a hell of a night last night. He said, I may have had a few at halftime. He never lost a ball game. Time just ran out.
That was Bobby. That was Bobby.
Robert Lawrence Lane was born in Santa Ana, a Texas whistle stop where little has changed. But back when he was only 6, his life was changed forever.
There was an automobile accident that his father and he was in, and they laid upside down together for almost 24 hours before people found them. And his dad was dead at that time. He said it changed his life entirely. Life can be gone any second. He never thought too much of life other than having some fun in it.
He was the blonde-haired, blue-eyed, swashbuckling quarterback of the Detroit Lions, a merry band of hellraisers in the early 50s. They were a tough team. Demanding Buddy Parker was their coach, but Lane was the boss.
First time Buddy Parker ever seen a play in, Bobby called timeout over the sideline and said, you call it, you go in there and run the son of a bitch. I'm the quarterback.
Lane had no face mask and no fear. He spliced stag clips into the game films. He cussed and smoked and fired out bourbon belches in the huddle. He would puke, then throw up his trademark ugly ducks after chasing the chicks on nearly 3 hours of sleep. Yet his flutter bowl sailed nearly 27,000 yards for a then record 196 touchdowns.
One time we lined up 11 quarterbacks in Los Angeles for a certain game or a certain TV commercial, and every man could throw it just as pretty, just as far. I could throw just as strong as Van Brocken, Unitas, and they could throw just as strong as I could. And there's more to being a quarterback than having a strong arm, or you can throw it end over end if you score enough touchdowns.
You knew with Bobby back there that the impossible would happen. If we were in a war, he'd be like a Napoleon. He could just lead the troops to any victory that they wanted to lead him to. We loved him, and you'd kill for Bobby Lane.
And if you didn't, he'd kill you.
I was playing against Bobby Lane, and I rushed him one time, knocked him down. He looked at me and he said, would you like to buy a guard? I said, yeah. He said, you can take that SOB right there that tried to block you.
He played with a salty, unbridled spirit, cherished by both teammates and opponents.
I didn't body slam him down on the turf. It would have hurt him, and I knew that. And he still had the ball. But, you know, I held him in the whistle blue. And he looked at me and he said, thanks, Ed. I said, them problems.
At quarterback, number 22, Bobby Lane.
In 1952, Lane outdueled Otto Graham and the Browns for the NFL title.
And the Lions leap in front.
A year later in the rematch, Detroit needed him more than ever.
And Bobby Lane keeps his passing arm warm. For with Detroit trailing, time becomes the all-important factor.
He said, y'all just block and old Bobby will pass you right to that championship.
Lane's going all the way on this one. It's Jimmy Dorn, and he grabs it for a sensational touchdown. So for the second year in a row, the Professional Football World Championship goes to the Detroit Lions.
Lane hoisted many a trophy and many a glass, and he was a big hit with the gals. He loved a hot band and a cold beer, and he knew early morning taxi drivers by name.
The drinking sessions were not just going out and get bombed. They were just the camaraderie between the team and everybody getting together. And Bobby was such a part of it.
As I always said, I went in the front door. I didn't sneak in the back door. It hurt my family some. That's the only thing. The publicity. Everybody knew me in Detroit, and I couldn't go anywhere without some conversation.
Lane had become a legend, the first NFL player ever on the cover of Time. His nightlife made headlines, too. And although he hated most sports writers, he'd fight for the few he could trust.
Some little guy's giving me a hard time, you see. And I says to myself, hot thought, here's a fight I can win. So I says to the guy, why don't you just shut your mouth or we're going to have a bad scene here. And before the guy can answer me, who pops in there but Lane? He came clear from the dining room. He heard there's trouble up there with Cope. He comes clear from the dining room. He grabs this guy by the shirt collar, and he says, one more word from you, Buster, and I'll tie your tongue to your shoelace.
Lane broke his ankle in '57, and a year later, he was traded to Pittsburgh, a team that hadn't had a winning season in 8 years. They became instant contenders, led by their loose cannon.
Lane was on that stage leading the band. He loved to get into the act. He was doing this at 5 a.m. The next day, here's this bitter cold day. The field is a sheet of glass, and Lane passes for 409 yards after leading that band in the wee hours. It's a record for the Steelers that still to this day stands, by the way.
After 15 seasons, 3 championships, broken records, and broken curfews, Lane retired and returned to Texas. The kid who once lay scared in an overturned car had turned the league and countless bar stools upside down. He went out a winner. But at the age of 60, time finally ran out on Bobby Lane.
Season, Randall Cunningham or Terrell Davis? Which team was more dominant, the Broncos or the Vikings? And who did the best coaching job in 1998? We'll select the player, team, and coach of the year next week on Presents, which debuts Tuesday at 8 on The Deuce.
Edge Pro Gel for unsurpassed comfort. Lose the foam. Save your skin.
Oh, different Falcon team, baby. They'll find out soon enough. We're going to show the world.
You know what they always say? When you beat an opponent, they always a little hungrier the second time around. I don't know what's going to happen. I know I'm hungry.
We'll be number 1 after today. That's it. That's all what counts. Nothing else don't even matter.
Guys, let's lay it on the line. Next play is the biggest play of the game, baby. Let's get it done. Let's win this thing on 3. 1, 2, 3. Go, let's run!
In the first half, defenses dominated.